to the people. As the people's organization, the ANC needs to deliver on these expectations, obviously within reason as well as the prevailing objective constraints. Currently, issues that have potential to tip the scales towards forces opposed to us include the following: high unemployment levels, delivery on basic services, slow economic growth. The ANC needs to remain seized with the quest for good leadership or moral high ground without any flinch. Shifts that ultimately change the landscape do not happen abruptly. However, they do happen, no matter how quick and no matter how slow. Therefore, we need to work with the necessary speed as the ANC to address any of the concerns. 21 years into democracy, the political landscape of our province as well as that of our country has changed completely from what it was in 1994. This change has not occurred overnight, but over a period of time, as those who want to contest the space we occupy seek to unseat us. As we move towards 2016 local government elections, we need to reflect on how we analyze the political landscape as occupied by major political players in the province. In the year 2014, the IFP, which had been the official opposition in KwaZulu-Natal legislature since 2004, was itself unseated. We can attribute this principally to the mobilization work that we did as the ANC in attractive new membership and voters to our fold, informed by our record of intense accelerated service delivery in rural areas. You will remember, comrades, that the rural areas were the traditional strongholds of the IFP. We need to take advantage of the fact that the IFP is faltering around and under the lacquer of conservatism, and they are operating on the periphery. This is a party that has lost relevance. However, we need not completely dismiss them as a spent force. With regard to the NFP, the instability within has meant that it has found it difficult to remain cohesive. This has opened up space for the parties, including the IFP, to win back some of the support it lost. In simple terms, it has failed to run a mile and is fast approaching its end. It is now grazing in a shade. The DA, on the other hand, has been on a mission to remodel itself into an all-encompassing mass-based party. Despite its efforts on seeking power by deploying black people into strategic power positions, this has not yielded meaningful results. In reality, they can never change what they are, which is characterized by parasitic politics of parading black people while unashamedly propounding the agenda of the privileged. Nonetheless, it is our foremost opponent because of its ability to weaken the hegemony we currently enjoy. Therefore, our strategy for 2016 local government elections must take into account the threat posed by the DA. Adding to these parties has been the emergence of the AFF, which plays populist and confrontational politics. The biggest danger that it poses is that it has no qualms playing on emotions and aspirations of our people. It nonetheless represents a new dynamic in our political landscape, obviously. All this does not mean we must change our programs or be influenced by what the opposition is saying. But, as military strategist Sun Tzu says, I quote, "Know your enemy and yourself, and you can fight 100 battles without any disaster." Close quotes. We are passing through this outline with humbleness and without fooling ourselves that they do not pose any threat to ourselves. We need to fire from all our cylinders towards 2016 and beyond. Having said this, we must appreciate that our foremost enemy is all those challenges we have identified, which include high levels of unemployment, high cost of tertiary education, that make it inaccessible for the poor, poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. On the economy, economic transformation means changes we need to make in terms of our economy, namely the structure of the economy, economic benefits and their distribution, empowerment, access to land ownership, as well as ownership of the means of production. With regards to other above critical issues, available evidence points to more work yet to be done as opposed to work already done. Just in the public sector in KwaZulu-Natal, a study commissioned by the provincial government, for example, showed that in 2013-14, the province spent just over 1 billion on 100% African-owned companies. This equals 30% of the total procurement spent. 1.2 billion on 100% white-owned companies, or 34%, and 1.2 billion on 100% Indian-owned companies, or 30% of total discretionary procurement spent. Among its conclusions, the report states, when one considers the demographics of KwaZulu-Natal, it does appear that there is no relationship between procurement expenditure of the province and its demographic profile. According to the 2011 census, Black Africans account for 86% of the total KZN population. Whites 4.2%, Indians 7.4%, and colored 1.4%. In an ideal world, one would expect procurement spend to reflect the demographics. But of course, given the history of South Africa, the current state of affairs is not surprise. There are fundamental reforms that need to be implemented in order to change the status quo. With regards to the private sector, a cursory look and our own common knowledge show that ownership of the means of production is still grossly skewed in favor of white males that dominate all the sectors of the economy. On fiscal outlook, the South African economy shrank on a seasonal adjusted annual basis by 1.28% during the second quarter of 2015 and other quarters as well. The provincial economy has not escaped the slowdown in the domestic economy, recording a decrease of about 1.56%. Provincial economy is estimated to grow by about 1.60% during 2015. And the prognosis for national and provincial economies over the short term does not look good. However, if one takes a longer term view of economy, then one has to realize that structurally, the South African economy is at least sound. The central issue, unfortunately, is the inability of the South African economy to create decent jobs. It is well understood that to address poverty and inequality, the economy needs to create jobs. On economic development, we have briefly covered the area of economic transformation above. We now want to focus on economic development in the province. The economic centers that are currently showing interesting economic activities are eThekwini, Richards Bay, the South, and Ladysmith in particular. In eThekwini, the main development is projected at Point Waterfront, the harbour, the passenger terminal, the Keystone Logistics Hub, which is currently under construction. In Richards Bay, projected economic growth is around the industrial development zone, with other specific projects outside the zone. The Richards Bay harbour is under pressure to create more container terminal space in the near future, starting on a short-term base with bigger cranes. In South Africa, in the south, the Scottsboro area, there are proposed developments. Proposed developments there include the airport, and further south, discussions are ongoing on the establishment of the Music City. All three projects mentioned above will contribute job creation and economic development for the province. On transformation, this is a core program of the National Democratic Revolution, through which we assess direction, pace, and quality of our revolution. It is a vision-driven program by the ANC, adaptable to conditions as they prevail. In particular, transformation refers to changes we need to make both in terms of economic and social transformation. Now, on social transformation in particular, this refers to necessary changes in terms of social conditions of the people, which includes, among others, improved standard of living, access to health care, improvements in management of chronic diseases, access to water, sanitation, housing, access to education, reduction of child mortality, etc. And social transformation in our context means lifting people out of abject poverty and creation of an environment that is conducive for development in KwaZulu-Natal, where we have 3 million people living in extreme poverty, as an example. One recent development that has emerged sharply in the whole debate around provision of is the whole debate around the provision of higher education. The latest activities by the students reacting to fee increases have sparked a powerful debate on accessibility of higher education and training, the quality of our education, of our higher education, role of different sectors within each of the universities, as well as autonomy of the universities. The envisaged outcome is provision of free education in South Africa, a call that is embraced in the Freedom Charter and various resolutions in different conferences of the ANC. We all support this call. We further support the efforts to resolve funding as far as this issue is concerned. Lifetime. And this is our narrative of bringing about dignity to all, irrespective of their social standing. The pillars of this plan at community level are social security, housing, enterprise development, employment creation, skills development, and agriculture. Whereas the issues of poverty are found everywhere in our province, this poverty eradication program is focused on the 5 municipalities that are the worst affected in our province. Umsinga, KwaMaphumulo, Umhlabuyalingana, Vulamehlo, and Inkandla. At the 23rd National Conference in Mangaung, we resolved to embark, as we have said above, on radical economic transformation as a second phase of our transition towards a national democratic state. This was informed by our strategic assessment. We are fully aware that at times the radical transformation causes a hyper and unnecessary panic that encompasses its usage. Before we define what this means, we want to outline what radical economic transformation means. It is neither our intention to undermine the constitutional laws of this country nor to overhaul those laws and systems that are effective at the moment, only to replace them with short-sighted and unrealistic policies and programs. It is also not our intention to tinker on the edges of and be comfortable with bringing about meaningless changes in our drive to reduce unemployment, poverty, and inequality. The intervention we seek to focus on entails robust government implementation of policies and strategies. We'll be promoting issues of localization, industrialization, value-adding, beneficiation, infrastructure development, skills development, entrepreneurship development. There shall be no compromise in the implementation of broad-based black economic empowerment, which is at the core of government transformation policy. Therefore, radical economic transformation dictates that we must overhaul any system and program that perpetuates inequality, unemployment, and poverty. We want an economy that will benefit all the citizens. In this instance, we hold a view that public procurement is an important tool to advance meaningful economic transformation. At our procurement in Durban, we agreed to use government spending on goods and services as a tool to drive economic transformation that takes into account demographics of this province. This approach creates new sites of economic activity for suppliers of goods and services, especially those owned and controlled by young entrepreneurs. It opens opportunities for small and medium enterprises to enter various economic value chains. Comrades delegates, we harbor no illusions on economic justice we achieved overnight. We nonetheless must be relentless in our efforts and agenda for radical economic transformation. Linked to the transformation agenda is an appreciation that our province is positioned as Africa's global trade gateway. KwaZulu-Natal is poised to become an international player to play in the global economy as a leading trade and investment destination. Our transport and communication sector at 15% is larger than national at 10%. We have a modern and well-developed logistics financial sectors, which makes us one of the fastest growing provincial economies. As we speak, the wisdom of investing in King Shaka International Airport has already begun to bear fruit. Yesterday, for an example, we welcomed the inaugural direct flight between Durban and Istanbul in Turkey, and we developed KwaZulu-Natal as an international route. This forms part of exciting developments within the aviation space in our province and clearly proves the point that indeed we are the gateway not only to the rest of the continent, but to the rest of the world. But this will become further actualized when we launch the Durban, Qatar, and Durban-Addis Ababa lines or airlines later in the year. However, the fundamental question for this conference should be how well we as the ANC deliberately in a transparent manner position Black and African entrepreneurs to benefit from these economic developments. We say this because we have observed that over the past 20 years of our democratic rule, government would work hard to create conducive conditions and investments only for the benefit of such efforts to accrue mostly to established business and, of course, other people opposed to previously marginalized for whom it was meant. Comrade delegates want to argue that we must do further efforts for new investments that will build dynamic, more competitive and export-driven economy, taking advantage of our strategic position as a province that has 2 ports and 600 kilometers long coastal line. In unlocking those opportunities, we must promote industrialization and in particular putting in place measures to engender local beneficiation. Black Industrialists Program therefore becomes an important stepping stone. While a government portfolio would be given the task of leading this campaign, comrades from organized business, some of whom are CEOs, must come to the fore to help craft comprehensive approach to attain this goal. All members of the ANC from all spheres must stand up and be counted, every member an organizer. Comrades delegates, the province has 2 oil refineries producing large volumes of wide-range industrial and household products. The developing oil and gas industry through ongoing onshore and offshore exploration, particularly along the east coast of Africa, will spawn a plethora of opportunities. This will further unlock existing and potentially new capacity that's in the services sector, especially in the repairs maintenance market in this province. We have new untapped opportunities in the mainstream sector, in the maritime sector, that are untapped. Rural development and agriculture. Rural development and agriculture in KwaZulu-Natal is vast, large, rural, yet it has not realized its growth potential which lies in agriculture, and if properly tapped into, can lift the 3 million poor people out of the shackles of their current situation. Comrades, you will recall that together with governments, with President Zuma, in November 2014, we launched 3 infrastructure projects, namely Mashunka, Mthateni, and Ngubo Bridge to Gala Ferry Irrigation Scheme and Msinga Livestock Sales Yard. By launching those projects, we were demonstrating that ANC government's aim of building vibrant, equitable, sustainable rural communities. Government aims of building vibrant, equitable, and sustainable rural communities with food security for all. The Tugela Ferry Irrigation Scheme has not only been an intervention towards assisting smallholder farmers to become commercial farmers, but also a critical intervention in terms of access to water for the people. Such initiatives must be replicated in other districts. We have further adopted a program on agricultural development and agrarian reform, which ensures communities play an active role in the management of their farming activities. One of the pillars of this program is communal estates. And comrades, in rural development that is transformative, if it empowers the people to move away from dependency to self-sustainability, it gives them dignity, enhances their wealth. On governance, we've maintained sound financial management in the province despite the pressures put on us by a number of factors. The audit outcomes for the past few years have been improving. The Auditor General commended both the province and local government on improvements that have been achieved. The direction that the ANC government is taking is that we should deliver on our undertakings and the expectations of our people. This includes basic services such as electricity, water, roads, schools, housing, clinics, healthcare, as well as the fight against HIV and AIDS. To a large extent, delivery is taking place, but has not necessarily reached everyone in all respects. In some cases, service delivery protests such as serve as an indicator that expectations have not been met. Both provincial and local government need to treat this seriously to prevent uncontrolled violence by communities. There's a perception that an argument that government is not doing enough on corruption. In reality, most of the government employees are not corrupt, but where instances of corruption take place, and there are, the blemishes are hard to remove. Fighting corruption involves investigations, which are often very expensive and dismissals of those affected. We need to strengthen our resolve to fight corruption in all its forms. One of the challenges that are still prevalent in the country is state capacity. We still don't have established mechanisms to steadily build state capacity in relation to skills, quality performance, efficiency levels among government employees. However, there are government programs in this regard. On local government is structured today in South Africa. A structured local government in South Africa is a new phenomenon, yet it is one sphere that is on the spotlight when it comes to delivery of services. The sphere of government is now fully established in KwaZulu-Natal and now fully functional. Key task of this sphere is good financial management, governance, delivery of services in this regard. A lot of work has been done. One of the remarkable efforts in improving government is the rolling out of back to basics. However, there's still a long way to go in building necessary capacity to meet all the challenges, and the situation is made worse by lack of resources to build infrastructure such as roads, provision, and water. On traditional leadership, one of the main dynamics in KwaZulu-Natal is the fact that there is strong traditional governance and the royal household side by side with wall-to-wall modern democratic governance. Over years, leadership in both systems have grown accustomed to this form of governance. It has delivered the kind of socio-economic stability that KZN needs. There are, however, elements of the province that want the two systems to compete with the constitutional framework of the Republic that then complement one another. They are the source of danger worse than the it itself. It is absolutely important to nurture the relationship between broad objectives, and this is possible and necessary for the future of this province. State capacity, I've touched on a number of matters, but on peace, security, and social cohesion, we remain concerned about the level of violence in the province. The main drivers of this are related instability are the taxi industry, violence in some hostels, and general matters. Various efforts are being made to reduce this state of affairs. The real root cause of this challenge relates to economy, but other related factors including poor policing, drugs, and alcohol abuse. The outbreak of violence directed to African foreign nationals came as a shock to all of us at the beginning of this year. Provincial government and eThekwini municipality has established a joint operation to deal with this particular challenge. This led to unbudgeted expenditure, unplanned diplomatic engagements, and ending violence, protecting lives and bringing about stability. We then appointed a special reference group led by Judge Navi Pillay, former UN Commissioner on Refugees. It has finished its work and will soon be submitting their work to Cabinet. On international relations, further to other partnership agreements that had been established prior to 2012 is the partnership agreement we signed with the United States, State of Maryland in the United States. This agreement is especially aimed at strengthening economic trade and investment, scientific, cultural, and human relations between KwaZulu-Natal and Maryland. We will now be developing practical programs in tourism, promoting agriculture development and agribusiness, education and training, of course, exchange programs such as focus on research and development. Our other agreements are in education with Cuba, Turkey, India, and others. Another one will be signed with the province of Kinshasa and the Democratic Republic of Congo. One challenge that is outstanding is the role of the ANC is the recruitment of staff and diplomats by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation so that we influence that particular process. Another weakness we need to improve on is the coordination of non-governmental organizations and some individuals who play remarkable roles abroad. The last part is ANC as leader of society. In his King Henry VI playwright, William Shakespeare laments, "Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown." In the case of the ANC, this means that a leader of society, the ANC is expected to possess the necessary foresight to charge the new cause for our society. In this regard, the ANC must remain principled, but of course open to criticism. In particular, it must at all times engage in exercising introspection to ensure that it stays true to the principles. And this is a difficult but highly rewarding task. And in the process of carrying out this mandate, there are those who will differ sharply with the ANC, even to the point of hurling insult to our movement. However, we must accept that this comes with the position to occupy in society. We occupy in society. The ANC must resist temptation to engage in street fights with political parties whose only claim to fame is that they hog the newspaper headlines by insulting us. What is of critical importance is that as members of the ANC, we individually must lead by example, and the qualities that define the ANC, which are selfless, sacrifice, integrity, honesty, tolerance, and respect, we must live these qualities. So what kind of a person can live these values of the ANC and lead the NDR? Certainly, it can be a person whose frame of reference is outside of the revolutionary theory that we espouse as the ANC. Such a person must be a cadre. The Cuban revolutionary chair, Wabera, described a cadre as, I quote, "an individual who has achieved a sufficient political development to be able to interpret the extensive directives emanating from the central power, make them his, and convey them as orientation to the masses. A person who at the same time also perceives the signs manifested by the masses of their own desires and their innermost motives. He is an individual of ideological and administrative discipline who knows and practices democratic centralism and who knows how to evaluate the existing contradictions in this method and to utilize fully its many facets. Who knows how to practice the principle of collective discussion and to make decisions on its own and take responsibility in production. Whose loyalty is tested and whose physical and moral courage is developed along with his ideological development in such a way that he is always willing to confront any conflict and to give his life for the good of the revolution. Also, he is an individual capable of self-analysis, which enables him to make the necessary decisions and to exercise creative initiatives in such a manner that it won't conflict with discipline," close quotes. Of course, the Constitution of the ANC further elaborates on this when it lists, among others, the rights of members as being entitled to offer constructive criticism to any member, official policy program activity, the ANC within the structures, take part in election and be elected or appointed to any committee, structure, commission or delegation of the ANC. Some of the duties include those that are indicated there. Clearly, the two articulations from chair and the ANC Constitution make the point that any cadre worth his or her salt must be disciplined, be prepared to work for the attainment of the goals of the revolution, be honest and loyal, and most importantly, be well informed. The reality, comrade delegates, is that for a long time now, the ANC has been lamenting the emergence of selfish tendencies that are alien to the ANC and so on. The time has come for us to take a stand against these tendencies. One of the things this conference needs to consider is whether our criteria for membership, including criteria for comrades, to stand for leadership positions is rigorous enough to ensure quality membership and production of upstanding cadres who can take the revolution forward. Our province must, at the next policy conference of the ANC, champion a position of this nature. And in conclusion, The ANC has not accomplished its historical mission. Therefore, it cannot afford to fiddle while Rome burns. The eyes of millions of our people here in KwaZulu-Natal and elsewhere in the country are on this conference simply because legitimately they look to the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal to chart the way forward. Our deliberations in this conference must be robust, frank, and constructive. They must ensure that we carry with us the hopes that the entirety of the membership of the ANC, SABC, COSATU, and all the organizations represented here have. We need to ensure that the outcome of this conference makes them proud to be members of this glorious movement. Let us build a stronger, resilient, unified ANC. Forward ever, backward never. Aluta continue. Amanda! Thank you very much.
Anibambe niwe wafana ayibambe niwe zinsizwa anibambe niwe wafana anibambe niwe zinsizwa gowisipam sa lava fana sisinku o levata go besipam sa lava fana sisi o levata ani bambe newe wafana ani bambe newe zinsizwa ani bambe newe wafana ani bambe newe zinsizwa go esipamu salava fana sinkumbu go levata go esipamu salava fana sinkumbu go levata Asha viva FIFA viva Slalo FIFA viva Sensomqunu FIFA Mandla siyabonga Slalo anikezeni kusihlala ihlombe ma comrade ngibonile niyafuna ukumnikeza thank you Hasna valu Mandla ayihlale phansi ibambe umthetho hlala phansi siyabonga cha Isikhathi nje makomrade besinga umculo akuyona into esiyivala vala noma inini. Siyayithanda. Kufuna nje ukuthi kodwa sibe aware ukuthi siqale late. Siphinde futhi sibuye silungise izinto. Ikakhulukazi ke ngoba khona nabantu asebebadadlana la. Isikhathi lesi sokudla sesidlule kakhulu. Mayifuna ukuthi sikuthola ukudla kusukela manje. We will adjourn for lunch now, whatever it's called. We think it's lunch, late lunch, but if it's not, give it its name. From 3 o'clock, we are on lunch. When I am over in any discipline, I'm sure ngo4:04 no besenibuyile. Ngoba siyaqala definitely ngo 4:30. 4:30 we start. Therefore, every one of discipline cadres of the ANC, please come back by 4:15, latest 20:00. Thank you. Nambe kahleka makomrade ningakhohlwa i-code of conduct for the conference. Ngayikhohlwa nje code of conduct for the conference. Thank you. Nopal. Kunetende elikhulu lapha ngaphandle ngiyabonga Jackson. Itende elikhulu, there is a big tent outside on your right hand side. Kukhona ukudla ke ngapho. Please, comrade, thank you.
Africa!